Jena Covello is the self-described creatrix, founder, and educator of Agent Nateur, a skincare and supplement line abundant in natural vitamins, minerals, oils, and plant extracts vetted by Jena herself. With a focus on quality and efficacy, the line sets a new standard for beauty companies around the world. Her love and knowledge of skincare began with her own health crisis at the age of 23 when she was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis after a decade of intense physical suffering. Not afraid to speak her own mind, we discuss her road to healing her own body and how a deodorant she cooked up in her kitchen changed the trajectory of her life. So Jena,
Hi.
before we jump into your amazing products and your story, I want to talk about Sade.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I love Sade. And I know that she's important to you.
Well, you really did your research on me.
I do my work.
Yeah. Well, when I was like 7 years old, my aunt used to blast Sade in her car, Sweetest Taboo.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if I ever like publicly said this anywhere, but I moved to LA and I was like Swiffering my now ex-boyfriend's house, and I was singing Sweetest Taboo, and I went to the window and I looked at his amazing view of LA and the palm trees, and I started crying because I had that view as a kid. I would listen to Sade. I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey, which was a pretty rough neighborhood.
Yes.
And I would listen to Sade, and I imagined myself living in Miami or Los Angeles and looking out at an insanely beautiful view. And then I saw that view at his house, and I cried because I'm like, this is not my guy, and this is not my view. It's his view, and I need to get my view.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, she's a gifted woman, and her career has been an amazing journey to watch the reinvention of her career through the years. And I think
her voice, it's healing, and there's something very therapeutic about listening to her. And my cat used to love to listen to her as well, but on the weekends especially, I love to play Sade. But she plays in my car or in my house every single week. And still, I love her. I love music. I can't live without music. I don't watch TV, but I love Sade. What's your favorite Sade song?
I love Sweetest Taboo, and I love Jezebel.
I like Jezebel.
Because I love the narrative of Jezebel, and I think I was a sophomore in college when that song came out. So it was like a very poignant time in my life, you know? There was something about that song that really, Soldier of Love.
That's a great one. That has a great beat.
Yeah, it has a great beat. And she's just, that video when she's in that dress and it's kind of like a Spanish feel to it, and she's doing her thing.
She went on tour, I want to say it was like 2011, and I missed the tour, and I'm like, I'm just waiting. Like, can there be just one more tour?
I think she has another album coming out soon, if I'm reading things. I mean, don't quote me, I could be wrong, but I think she does. But she's gifted.
She's British, right?
She is. I think she's British and Nigerian. I believe she's mixed.
It's so wild because all of my favorite singers are usually, my favorite bands and singers are usually, aside from Madonna, are usually British. Old Madonna. Old Madonna. I don't know what's going on with this new Madonna.
Well, yeah, no one does, but we'll figure it out. Or we won't. I don't know. I was really happy when I knew I was going to talk to you because I think your journey is probably emblematic of many people's journey with healthcare and medicine in the world today. And what I was so surprised by in your story was that from the ages of 13 to 23, you were suffering from endometriosis. And as I was reading your story, I was like, what took them so long to figure out what was happening with you? You know? And then it seems like along the way that the system kept failing you to the point where you had to go see a naturopathic doctor almost to help you heal yourself. And I was wondering what that journey was like for you to make the decisions along the path that you had to make to start healing yourself.
Well, I think as an American, at least, we grow up hearing our parents say, like, listen to the doctor, right? And so, and if you don't listen to the doctor, you're kind of like scolded and you're bad and you're not doing what you're supposed to. Take your medicine, listen to the doctor. So I felt like I was listening to the doctor for those 10 years. And then I was never diagnosed until I actually had surgery. And that was when I was 23. And that surgeon, she's had her license suspended since then, not from me, but from someone else for, I think, multiple factors. But basically, she really butchered me, and she caused so much pain and scar tissue that the surgery was worse than the disease itself. I'm still recovering from it. The last 20 years since the surgery, I'm still trying to do all I can to heal myself from that, because at the time, and this really wasn't any fault of her own, but at the time they were operating endometriosis through laparotomy, which is when they give you like a C-section cut.
Right.
And that spread the endometriosis to the muscle of my uterus, and that's called adenomyosis. And so I would say for 5 years after the surgery, I was in really bad shape. And it wasn't until I was about 28 or 29 that I found a functional doctor in LA. Her name is Julia Hunter. And I was in so much excruciating pain. I was going to the ER like for 3 cycles in a row. They were giving me morphine. At the time, that's what they would give you if you had pain from endo. They would think we were going to the hospital to get high, which morphine wouldn't even get people like in my position high, because we were in so much pain it would take the edge off. Now they give you an NSAID. It's an anti-inflammatory called Toradol. But at the time, I was in excruciating pain, and she was the first person that said, this is caused from scar tissue from your surgery. Your endometriosis isn't back. This is scar tissue. And so at that point, I kind of stopped trusting Western medicine, and I went for an exploratory surgery. And I kept telling them, I said, it seems like it's my right fallopian tube. And the doctor said, you don't know where your fallopian tube is. And like, that's not what it is. Your endo is back. And kind of just like, you know, not listening to me and like shrugging her shoulders. And I wake up from the surgery and it was my fallopian tube. I had hydrosalpinx and my tube had closed from all of the scraping from that endometriosis surgery that I had like a half of a decade prior. And so after that, I just, started to take a complete holistic approach to my health for the most part, and combine Western when I need it, but kind of pick and choose from each person what I need, and really trusting myself and my own intuition. And when something feels right or something feels off, I trust myself and I don't trust the doctor.
How did your journey begin? Because when you went to the doctor, you were at what you describe as a stage 4 situation with the endometriosis. You have all these really difficult experiences. How did you begin to educate yourself in order to know what to do for yourself? Because as you moved into your own business, the first thing you cut out was the aluminum. And I'm curious about how you knew to do that and the research you did to get yourself there.
Well, I basically, for those 10 years, no one would diagnose me. They would say it was just a bad period, but I would be on the floor throwing up. I'd be in the nurse's office every month when I was in high school. so the way that it got to stage 4 was because no one had diagnosed me, and I was waitressing, and I had such bad pain on my side, and I am a workaholic, was a workaholic even then, and I would waitress like in the summer like 6-7 days a week, and I had this pain on my side. I'm like, something's wrong. And I had a CAT scan. At the time, I didn't know that I should avoid the radiation and get an MRI. Right. And they found a 14-centimeter chocolate cyst, which is the size of a grapefruit. And so they're like, we don't know what this is. We think it's endometriosis, but we're not sure. And then they did the surgery, and that's how they diagnosed me. And then when I had met Julia Hunter, she was the one that kind of put me on that holistic path, and I started to research a lot, I would say, and I started researching a lot just on blogs, and I started reading like this blog called March Against Monsanto. It was from a site, I don't know, that's something like a non-GMO site. So, and then my father, he had been in my ear since I was 16, and he had said, don't use antiperspirant because it's an endocrine disruptor. And when you hear that in the 90s, like I thought he was crazy, and I was like, you're crazy. What am I going to do? Smell and not wear deodorant? So I really thought he was like insane when he said that. But then I had went to another naturopath, and she said, you have to cut the aluminum out because you have enough estradiol for like an entire block of women. I was so estrogen dominant. So I started researching all the ways online and through doctors of ways I could cut the estrogen. And so one of them was to avoid aluminum in antiperspirant. And I couldn't find a natural deodorant at the time that was effective. There were like virtually no luxury brands on the market at the time.
At that time, no.
Yeah, and so there was something called pit paste that was really effective, but it was in a jar, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to wear pit paste. Like, I want to make something like chic. And so I started like cooking my own after I did ayahuasca, actually. Like 2 or 3 weeks after my first ayahuasca ceremony, I started cooking deodorant out of like the clear blue sky. I know the ayahuasca is linked to it for sure.
Right.
And I had no intention of selling it. I was just making it for myself. And then I gave it to friends and family, and they're like, this actually works. Can you make me more? And then someone said, I think you're on to something here, and you need to actually do something with this. And that's how it started.
So before that journey into ingredients and proper healthcare and proper taking care of your body, what did you think your life was going to be?
Exactly what it is now. I just didn't know the path.
You just didn't know the path.
I just didn't know the path, but I always had the end vision. I always held on to what the end vision was, but I didn't know that cooking deodorant on the stove was going to be the path to get me there.
Wow.
Do you believe in manifestation?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. What we speak, we call into our life. I totally believe that. What we believe, we call into our life.
And what we feel and see too.
And it's interesting about, you were saying that you knew that it was the right fallopian tube, because I think that people know. People know what's happening in their bodies, what's happening in their spirits, what's happening in their souls. It's a matter of turning off the soundtracks that we hear that say, trust your doctor, follow your doctor, make a happy plate, eat all the food on your plate.
Yes,
those things, right?
Yeah, eat I was on the beach last week, and I heard like, eat everything on your plate. And I'm like, oh my God, that's why our portions in America are out of control, because we're being told by our parents, finish your plate, eat everything. Yeah. So what's your favorite manifestation technique?
I daydream. I do a lot of daydreaming. And I find that within the daydream, I start to visualize and see the thing that I want to have. And I've done that since I was a child. Before I knew what manifestation even was, I was a serious daydreamer. And to this day, I still daydream. And if I have to do something that's difficult or something that is challenging, I will habitually now, I will daydream the whole thing to the result that I wanted it to have. So that when I walk into that situation, I've already created the circumstances under which I'm going to get the result that I want to have. But for me, it's daydreaming. What about for you?
I think it's the same. I envision like the situation that I want. I see it in my head and I really feel it. I make sure that I feel like it's real and it's already mine. And I think basically what I've realized to visualization and manifestation is you do not focus on what's happening in the present. It doesn't matter if every single thing is going against what your vision is. You don't focus on it. You have tunnel vision, like for that exact goal, and you just see that goal and you live accordingly as if that goal is already yours. And that's how you like cut through the everything that's going on, all the noise around you in the present.
Can you learn to manifest? Because I feel like I naturally did that. Do you think you can teach someone to manifest?
Yes, I do. I did it from the time I was like 4, listening to that Sade song. You know, that's a weird thing because I would watch, different soap operas, and I would watch Dynasty and these like fabulous shows, and like I would like see like a fabulous life, and like I want like that. I want to be fabulous. So like I just like kind of daydreamed about that, like those fabulous visions. But I do think you can learn. Yeah, I think that you have to be open to it, and you have to retrain your brain almost. It's kind of like a rewiring. But I think some of us are born maybe doing that, and maybe some of us have to learn it. And I think absolutely. I think it absolutely can be learned, because I think even the psychedelics and the ayahuasca open you up to those different realms and help you speed things up and manifest things in your life.
And I think working here at We Care, I'm surrounded by people and healers and teachers who do that on the regular.
Absolutely.
So it's completely reinforced.
Yeah, I mean, I think who you surround yourself with. I think there's like that famous Jim Rohn quote. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but like basically you'll become like the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. That's very, very true, I believe.
Or as my grandmother would say, if you lay down with dogs, you're gonna get fleas. We're just gonna keep it old school.
Or like, what's the other one? Like, birds don't hang with chickens because chickens don't fly, right? Is it that one?
Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Or like eagles, something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm curious to talk. So I've been in the spa industry for 20 years.
Doing what?
Running spas. I've worked in Asia. I've worked in the Caribbean. I've worked all over the U.S., Mexico.
What's your favorite spa in the world?
Oh my goodness. Besides where I am right now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a very probably unpredictable answer, but I love the Peninsula in Chicago. Wow. I had one of the best services that I've ever had in spa there. I think the therapist's name was maybe Donald. I don't remember his name, but he was working at a meta level. And you know, I've had hundreds, probably thousands of massages, but when people intuitively touch you and understand what's happening in your body, and he was a healer. I mean, that's what I was really responding to. He was a healer. And just, you know, the detail of the experience of me going to that spa and how they welcomed me and took me from here to there was just phenomenal. I'd probably say my second favorite was I was in the Maldives. And I was on the island of Daegu, which if you've ever flown to the Maldives, it's unbelievable because you land on like a strip that's maybe the size of this room that we're in.
Oh my gosh.
And you get out on this little thing you're on those planes that have the little water landing gear underneath. And you're put out on a thing that's maybe about this big of this room that we're sitting in. But anyway, I'm at the spa and the therapist there, they say, we're going to give you an authentic Ayurvedic massage. And so they lay me on a wooden table, no clothes, and this guy, because in America we're like, I'll have my little drape and my towel, and this guy totally, I couldn't believe what happened to my body in that treatment.
What happened?
So they don't work, in America we're very much Swedish, deep tissue, and it's kind of slow and all of that.
Yeah.
They work very quickly. They're using all of these amazing oils that are created by Ayurvedic doctors, and it's all about invigorating the body. And it's not so much about, this relaxing Swedish moment. It's like they're healing your body through the service and through the oils they're using. And it was incredible. I mean, I didn't know what happened to me at the end.
Yeah.
Because it didn't allow you to think. It didn't allow me to think.
Because it was happening so fast, kind of?
It was happening so fast and so expertly. Like it wasn't like it was messy. Because sometimes quick we think is messy.
Yeah.
It was incredibly thorough, incredibly detail-oriented. And it made me think of a different way of how we approach wellness and how we approach, something as what can be as mundane as a massage, right?
Right.
But yeah, it was a lovely experience.
I want to go there just for the massage. That sounds great.
Yeah, it was amazing. And talk about healing and I know nature is a big part of the work that you do and making sure that there's alignment there. But when you're in a place like the Maldives where you've never seen colors like that because there's no pollution.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have
sky and the water.
You have sky and water, and you look into the water, and they're like sharks, and you can see to the very bottom, and you see what the impact is when you have a freedom from sort of the things that encumber our world right now in terms of the environment and all of that, which makes me think about your. And I think I agree with your view on global warming and the CO2 tax that you've talked about. You have a very different perspective on this than I think people would imagine.
Yeah.
But as I listened to you, I was like, she's onto something. We want solutions, not rhetoric. And I think it's, I think, and I love that you speak what you've taught yourself, what you've learned, and you talk about how it's important that people research, study, educate, and learn, particularly when our education systems are kind of under assault right now, that where do people go to find the information and go to find the truth and look for what they can use to make their own informed decisions? Where do you find yourself going to do that?
Well, it's changed because I feel like I have to pick and choose because no one's really telling the complete truth at this point. But back then I would go to march against Monsanto and this site called something like GMO something. They have a great Instagram page, but that was kind of the start of it. I love David Wolf's information on health. I think it's super informative. I learn a lot through him. And right now I'm learning a lot through he is a compounding pharmacist in LA. His name is Nayan Patel. I just met with him actually a few days ago. He was one of the people who has been compounding glutathione IVs in LA for all the top doctors for the last 30 years. He hired the former researcher from Keck Medicine, which is at USC, as his researcher, and he's just released a transdermal glutathione spray. He holds the only patent in the world for this spray, and it actually gets into the red blood cells because when you take glutathione orally, or if you are on the patch, it's really not entering the red blood cells. If you take the IV, very little of it is going in the red blood cells. It's actually going to the plasma of the blood and it's staying in the water of the blood. But his glutathione is actually like backed by science and years of research. He patented it in 2010 or 2012. And he is seeing remarkable results. It has been putting people with type 2 diabetes in remission. He had three 3 patients who were alcoholics, who had liver disease, who he completely healed. He's seeing that it's regenerating the liver in 3 months' time. It is someone who had massive mercury poisoning, was healed from this glutathione. I think one way to search is to go, DuckDuckGo is a little bit better than Google. I love Mercola, by the way.
Okay.
I think Mercola has a vast amount of information. I like Dr. Axe. I think he has amazing information. I follow a lot of different doctors on Telegram. I get a lot of my information from them. And also learning with people like this compounding pharmacist and becoming friends with doctors and following, like I love Will Cole for gut health. He's who I teamed up with for Holy Maine. I love, just educating myself and learning as much as I can, and then kind of picking and choosing what feels right. And I don't have to agree with somebody 100%. I pick and choose what I like from one doctor, and then I go to the next. And I kind of have a circle of doctors that I work with, and I know who to get what from. So my Western functional doctor, who's able to prescribe medication, she really thinks outside of the box. She prescribes a lot of off-label medication and to try and figure out how to get you better. So she had put me on low-dose naltrexone, which was kind of life-changing. I think it really prevented me from having a hysterectomy when I was in like really awful pain. But I don't love the supplements that she prescribes, but I love her IVs. And I do my research and I look at the ingredients and everything. And I don't love certain supplement brands because they sold to big corporations. And when you research the ingredients, they're insane. I sell the best collagen on the market that I can find, the most expensive. It's the highest quality I've personally been able to find. And I've been really close with the person who sells the collagen to me. And he teaches me a lot. He just taught me that if you look up amino acids online, there are some that retail for $12, some retail for $58. Do you know the reason?
Profit margin.
Because the cheap amino acids are coming from human fingernails and hair that they're sweeping off the floor in salons, and they're turning that into an amino acid. And then they change the name of it, and you just have to Google the name and keep Googling the name and Google the name. The problem is no one wants to really do the research.
And they don't want to know. They
don't want to know, yeah. So, I mean, ignorance is definitely bliss until you get sick, and then you have to do the research. And I think that my following, especially on social media, they're really informed because a lot of them have had health issues and they feel like they've been failed by Western medicine. So they have, in a sense, become smarter than their doctor on the specific ailments that they have. And you have to be. You have to research because your doctor isn't going to have all the answers on your one specific ailment that you have. So you have to research and you have to see as many people as possible and really educate yourself. And I feel like my following does do that, but it is a certain kind of person who is doing that because they're sick or they haven't gotten better or the medication was just a temporary Band-Aid,
right.
Which I think is why a lot of people come here to We Care, you know.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I spoke with a gentleman who grew up in Baltimore in one of the worst neighborhoods in Baltimore. He actually calls it a food desert.
A food desert?
A food desert and
Why?
a wellness desert because he grew up in the ghetto. And, he would talk about how they would go to the grocery stores and there were flies on the food or the vegetables and fruit were just so depleted of any nutritional value because they were old or just, and he talks about this idea that he had to find alternative solutions for himself to get healthy because he suffered from anxiety and things of that nature. And his doctors, were taking the easy route and just prescribing him drugs, which he got addicted to.
Yeah.
and almost lost his life. And what pulled him out was he started doing yoga and started a very intentional practice around wellness and what he ate. And in these situations, you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. But I think there are many people in that situation who find that the sort of traditional modes of health and wellness, as we think about them, don't serve where they are, or it perpetuates the problem. And so I think you're onto something in terms of this sort of educate yourself and understand what your body needs in order to be healthy, and understand what you're putting in your body.
I think anyone who has a health condition that's not healed from Western medicine becomes a guinea pig in a sense, and will try anything to get better, right? Yeah. I'll try anything to feel better. When nothing is working, you literally feel like you'll try anything. And it's really interesting because I just saw clips. I didn't watch it, but Will Cole, my partner for Holy Maid, had Gwyneth Paltrow on his podcast, and she spoke about ozone therapy, like rectal ozone therapy. And the media is going insane on her. If you look, do you see? Yeah. They're saying no, Gwyneth, I'm not going to try this. Guess what? That kept my cat alive. My cat died when I stopped doing the ozone therapy rectally during COVID because I couldn't bring her to the vet twice a week. And she died 2 months later. But that therapy kept her alive for 2 years. And if I can't even call them journalists because they don't do any independent research because they're so lazy and they just follow what mainstream says, and they're lazy. They're lazy. If that woman, that I don't even know if it was, I don't know who the journalist was, but had she just done some research, or had she gone to a PubMed article and Googled, is there any benefit to ozone therapy? Plenty of information can come up. In Brazil, they were healing women with endometriosis through ozone therapy, and you can take ozone vaginally, rectally. You can ozonate olive oil and use it for skincare. You can put it in your water. You can put it intravenously. And so, this really went wild on in the media. If you Google it, and the way they just trashed it and put it down without doing any independent research, I think that kind of sums up what's happening every single day with mainstream media.
How did I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your line, because I think it's a beautiful line.
Thank you.
I love your commitment to ingredients. And I know you've spoken out about how in America we don't have the best sort of regulations or regulatory around ingredient decks. And I've always said over the last 20 years, people say, well, is the product natural or organic? I'm like, well, as much as the FDA lets it be, or as much as they'll let us put on the label. Your line started with the deodorant, and you have grown it out since then. What was that process for you? And how do you decide what you're going to do next? What is your research like? And where are you sourcing your ingredients from?
So after the deodorant, I launched 2 deodorants, and then I went to school in the south of France for natural cosmetics and fragrances. I became very close to my teacher, who then became my chemist. And after the deodorant, I launched a face oil because that's what I was making in class. She had given me the name of a place in Paris for me to go and play with efficacious anti-aging actives that were backed by science, but also safe for, approved for green beauty. EcoCert approved is what I like to say. And because the EcoCert approved basically means safe for the environment, so eco-friendly, and also safe if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. That's my standard that I use, because I don't like to say that synthetics are all toxic or that all fragrance is bad. It really depends on what the ingredient is. And I think that Green Beauty has taken things a bit far and they've demonized everything. And I think that's also an issue. It's kind of interesting what's happening in France right now because the opposite is sort of happening and it's really problematic, but I'll get into that in a second. Okay. But so I launched a face oil after the deodorant and I was really judged on it because my like bigger accounts in America said like, you make deodorant. Why would we buy your face oil? Why didn't you stick to body? Like you should have stick to body care and then launched face later. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I need a face oil. Yeah. And I'm not going to launch things just because it's in a category because you're telling me to. And I can't sell that. That doesn't feel authentic. That feels generic and fake and like I'm just trying to make money. And I made a beautiful face oil and I want to share it with everyone. And so it took a lot of education and I had to just like drill it in to give this a try. Just give it a try and tell me what you think of it. And I just kept hammering in all the ingredients and why they were beneficial. It's still my number one seller for skincare. It took a while. It took probably 3 years, but it's my best seller. And that's the holi oil. And it honestly, like you feel like men love it, by the way. It's like my boyfriend, anyone who tries it is obsessed with the face oil.
It's the cucumber.
That's not the cucumber. No, that's the cream, the holi.
Okay, that's what I'm living for right now.
Okay, you have to try the holi oil.
I have to do the oil next.
You're gonna freak out. And so people told me they were putting it on their scars. And that it was
the cream on my scar literally yesterday.
Oh my God! Well, put the holi oil on.
Okay, that's my next thing. I have a scar here.
Here, yeah. I see it.
Yeah, and so I was,
What's that from?
I was in a really bad car accident about 20 years ago where I flipped my car in the desert.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have an angel story that I'll tell you at some point. But.
Do you have any pain?
No, but I play instruments, and so after that wreck, I don't have the dexterity in my fingers that I used to have. But the pain is gone.
Wait, you don't have the mobility?
Not like I used to have.
Well, but you have to take MSM because that breaks down
scar tissue. That'll break down the scar tissue? Yeah, that's what it is.
And the collagen. You need the collagen as well because the collagen is amazing for your joints, but an amazing post-workout. But MSM breaks down scar tissue.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, that's what Julia Hunter, that was the first thing she put me on. I'm actually coming out with an MSM supplement next month, but basically MSM helps to break down scar tissue from surgeries and from injuries. Yeah. So it's super important. You should take it 3 times a day.
MSM.
MSM, yeah. Okay. MSM, yeah. It's a precursor to glutathione. It breaks down scar tissue. It helps with candida. It detoxes your liver. It's amazing for hair, skin, and nails. But the first thing it does is it breaks down scar tissue.
Yeah, it's all scar tissue. And I had my hand like this for like 6 weeks, which totally jacked everything up. But
are you doing any myofascial release?
I do a ton of. I still massage it actually. Yeah. I still massage on the scar, which I've been doing for years. But it's I need to do the MSM and this collagen. Which I know people love that, but because
I just did a treatment this morning, the system recovery, and so Luis had gotten a tool, and he had done myofascial release. Like your body is covered, it looks almost like a spider web, right? And that's the fascia. And when you have any kind of injury or an accident or surgery, the fascia clumps up, right? And that's what makes things that's what makes things like hard and tense, and that's how you lose the mobility. Yeah. Anyway, this tool he was using on my feet. No one had ever done it on my feet, but I do it on my body. I cup myself because that loosens the fascia. Mm-hmm. But you need to do that on the hand to break up the scar tissue as well.
I would love to have it back fully. Yeah. But so I was using the cream on my hand because it was like.
I'll do the holi oil.
I'm doing the oil next.
Oh my God! Do we have a?
You got it.
I have it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it feels amazing. So the helichrysum, because you
Yes.
asked me about my ingredients.
Yes.
So I buy this directly from the farmer. He's in Aix in Provence. And helichrysum is incredible for scars and healing. And wait till you rub that in. Go ahead. We're gonna rub it in.
Okay, yeah.
It's like gonna feel so good. But basically, helichrysum comes from the everlasting flower.
It feels so good.
And
So can you feel it right there where you're rubbing?
yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
And basically, what the flower never dies. It's a yellow flower. It stays fragrant and yellow forever, forever. I went to Salvador Dali's house in Cadaqués in Spain, and his house was filled with the original helichrysum he had when he was alive. That's how potent and healing the properties are in it. And now I can't make that claim, right? I can't. I have to be really careful with what I said. But everybody tells me how helichrysum heals their scars and wounds, which is why I created the body oil to use as a body treatment. Feels good, right?
You know, it's so funny. For years, I wouldn't let anyone touch my hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I was
Because of the pain?
afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, the pain's gone pretty much,
Yeah.
but I was afraid. That's amazing.
So I source a lot of my actives. Mostly all the actives are coming from Europe. Mostly all of them. My lactic acid I get in America, but I'm getting mostly everything from France and Switzerland for the anti-aging actives. I work with one lab in particular in Switzerland who's EcoCert approved and has a lot of anti-aging ingredients that are just very efficacious and have a lot of clinical studies behind them. I've been working with someone else who's based in the Middle East for, oh my gosh, I sourced this, it's a white lily bulb extract. It's coming from the Middle East. And the data and clinicals show that it acts as Botox. So you can add it to deodorant or you add it in a topical product. I put it in my new sensitive deodorant and I put it in Holi Lift, which is my lifting and firming serum. And it helps to freeze your muscles. It's like completely natural. And everyone's telling me that it's delaying their Botox.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I mean, my mom, like she inspires me a lot with the brand. And she's a really harsh critic. And like, she will tell me when she likes something and when she doesn't. And she's like, it took me some getting used to. She's like, but this product is absolutely amazing. And so she's the one who actually formulated the Holi Made. And so, yeah, so a lot of the ingredients for the actives are coming from France and Switzerland.
Jena, thank you so much.
Oh,
for
thank
today.
you.
It's been so great to talk
Thank
to you.
I could talk to you for hours.
I know. I'm like, I can keep going. But thank you. And
Thank
I
you
appreciate you making time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.